The red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the Imperial warship Thunder's Edge. Commander Velthak stared at the display screen with growing anger. His 3 eyes narrowed as he watched the impossible readings scroll past. "Report," he growled at his sensors officer. "Sir, we have detected an unknown object at the edge of the system. It appeared without warning 15 minutes ago." The young officer's voice shook slightly. "The object is moving at impossible speeds. Our computers cannot calculate how fast it is going." Velthak walked over to the sensor station. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. He had served the Galactic Empire for 30 years. Nothing should surprise him anymore. But this was different. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen changed to show a star map of their sector. A small red dot blinked at the very edge of their detection range. As they watched, the dot suddenly moved to a completely different location. Then it moved again. And again. "How is this possible?" Velthak asked. "Nothing moves that fast. The ship would be torn apart by the speed alone." "Sir, that's not the strangest part," the sensors officer said. "The object has no identification signal. It sends out no energy readings we can understand. Sometimes our sensors can see it clearly. Other times it disappears completely. Then it appears somewhere else." Velthak felt his anger growing. The Empire controlled this entire sector of space. No ship moved through these systems without permission. No ship existed that the Empire could not identify and track. Could it be a new type of weapon? Asked his second-in-command, Subcommander Jarkey. "Unknown," Velthak replied. "But we will find out. Send a message to all ships in the area. I want every available vessel to converge on our position. We will capture or destroy this intruder." Within an hour, 6 Imperial warships had arrived. The Thunder's Edge was the largest, but the others were still powerful vessels. Together they formed a detection net that should catch anything trying to move through their space. "Sir, the object has stopped moving," reported the sensors officer. "It's holding position near the 4th planet." "Finally," Velthak said. "Set course to intercept. All ships maintain attack formation. We don't know what weapons this thing might have." The Imperial fleet moved toward the mysterious object. As they got closer, their sensors began to pick up more details. The object was definitely a ship, but unlike any design in their databases. It was sleek and smooth with no visible weapons or engines. "Sir, the ship is only about 200 meters long," reported the tactical officer, "much smaller than our vessels." "Size means nothing if they have advanced technology," Velthak replied. "Continue approach. Prepare to fire if they make any threatening moves." Suddenly their target vanished from sensors completely. "Where did it go?" Velthak shouted. "Unknown, sir. It just disappeared. No energy signature, no movement detected. It's just gone." "Find it," Velthak ordered. "Search every sensor frequency. Use everything we have." The Imperial ship spread out, scanning in all directions. For 10 minutes they found nothing. Then the sensors officer gasped. "Sir, the object has appeared directly behind our formation. Distance 500 meters. Velthak spun around to look at the rear display. There it was, sitting calmly in space as if it had always been there. "How did it get behind us without being detected?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors show no movement, no energy trail. It simply appeared." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it through," Velthak ordered. A calm, human voice filled the bridge. The words were spoken in perfect Imperial standard, the common language used throughout the galaxy. "Imperial vessels, this is Commander Hyun-Soo of the human ship Wanderer. We mean no harm. We are simply passing through your space." Velthak had heard of humans before. They were a young species from a small cluster of systems far from the Empire's core. Primitive people who had barely learned to travel between stars. They posed no threat to the mighty Empire. "Human vessel," Velthak responded. "You are in Imperial space without permission. Your ship displays technology that should be impossible for your species. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." There was a pause before the human replied. "I'm afraid that won't be possible, Commander. We have urgent business elsewhere." "You have no choice in the matter," Velthak said. "Surrender now, or we will take your ship by force." "I understand your position," the human voice said calmly. "But we really do need to continue on our way." Velthak was about to order his ships to fire when the sensors officer spoke up again. "Sir, the human ship is moving again. On the display." They watched as the Wanderer seemed to flicker in and out of existence. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Then it appeared on their starboard side. Then above them. Then below. "Lock weapons on target," Velthak ordered. "I can't get a lock, sir," the tactical officer replied. "Every time I target the ship, it disappears before the targeting system can complete the lock." The human ship continued its impossible dance around the Imperial fleet. It would appear long enough to be seen, then vanish before any weapons could be fired at it. "Sir," the communications officer said, "the human is transmitting again." "We don't wish to fight," Commander Hyun-Soo's voice said. "But we cannot allow you to interfere with our mission. Perhaps we can reach an understanding." "The only understanding," Velthak replied, "is your immediate surrender." "I was afraid you might say that," the human replied. Suddenly the Wanderer stopped its dancing. It appeared directly in front of the Thunder's edge, less than 100 meters from the bridge. This close, they could see details of the strange ship's hull. It looked almost organic, with smooth curves instead of the angular designs favored by the Empire. "Sir, should we fire?" asked the tactical officer. Velthak was about to give the order when the human ship did something impossible. It seemed to stretch, becoming longer and thinner. Then it snapped back to its original shape. During those few seconds, the ship appeared to exist in two places at once. "What in the name of the Empire was that?" Velthak whispered. The communication system crackled to life again. "Commander Velthak, we need to talk." Velthak's blood ran cold. The human had used his name, his personal name, which should not be in any database that a primitive species could access. "How do you know my name?" he demanded. "We know many things, Commander. We know about your mission in this sector. We know about the Empire's expansion plans. We know about the threats you face from other species." "Impossible," Velthak said. "Our communications are completely secure." "We have been watching and listening for some time," the human replied. "We believe it's time for our species to meet officially. Are you willing to talk?" Velthak looked around his bridge. His officers stared back at him with expressions of fear and confusion. In 30 years of service, he had never encountered anything like this. The human ship had technology that seemed to break the basic laws of physics. They had information they should not possess. And they were asking for a meeting as equals. "What do you propose?" Velthak asked finally. "Meet us at the asteroid belt between the 3rd and 4th planets. Bring one shuttle. We will do the same. No weapons, no tricks. Just a conversation between two civilizations." Velthak considered his options. He could continue trying to capture the human ship, but so far his efforts had been useless. The mysterious vessel could apparently appear and disappear at will. Or he could agree to the meeting and try to learn more about this impossible technology. "Agreed," he said finally. 1 hour. "We'll be waiting," Commander Hyun-Soo replied. The human ship flickered once more and vanished completely from their sensors. This time it did not reappear anywhere else. Velthak stood quietly for a moment thinking about what had just happened. Then he turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare my shuttle," he ordered, "and send a message to Imperial Command. Tell them we may have a problem." The asteroid was small and cold, barely large enough for 2 shuttles to land safely. Commander Velthak checked his breathing gear one more time before stepping out onto the rocky surface. The asteroid had no atmosphere, so they would need to meet inside one of the shuttles or in environmental suits. He had brought 5 of his best soldiers with him, all armed with the Empire's most advanced weapons. They took positions around the landing area, watching for any signs of danger. The human shuttle arrived exactly on time. It was unlike any design Velthak had ever seen. Instead of the blocky, practical shapes favored by most species, this craft was smooth and curved. It landed without making a sound. 2 figures emerged from the human shuttle. They wore simple environmental suits that seemed almost primitive compared to Imperial technology. The taller figure raised a hand in what Velthak assumed was a greeting gesture. "Commander Velthak," the human's voice came through the communication system. "I am Commander Hyun-Soo. Thank you for agreeing to meet." "I want answers," Velthak replied. "Your ship has technology that should not exist. How did you acquire it?" The second human, shorter than Hyun-Soo, stepped forward. "I am Minho, the ship's engineer. Perhaps we could discuss this inside one of our shuttles. It would be more comfortable." Velthak looked at his soldiers, then back at the humans. "Very well. We will use my shuttle." Inside the Imperial shuttle, the 5 beings sat around a small table. Velthak studied the 2 humans carefully. They looked young and relaxed, not at all like representatives of a species with impossible technology. "Let me be direct," Velthak said. "Your species is primitive. You have barely learned to travel between stars, yet your ship moves in ways that violate the basic laws of physics. Did you steal this technology from another species?" Hyun-Soo smiled, which surprised Velthak. Most species showed fear or anger when questioned by Imperial officers. "We didn't steal anything, Commander. We developed our technology ourselves." "Impossible," Velthak replied. "The Empire has studied space travel for thousands of years. We have mastered hyperspace, antimatter engines, and gravity manipulation. Your ship does things that our best scientists say cannot be done." Minho leaned forward, his eyes bright with excitement. "That's exactly the problem, Commander. Everyone in the galaxy uses the same basic approach to space travel. You move through space using various forms of propulsion. But what if there was a different way?" "Explain," Velthak ordered. Instead of moving through space, Minho said, "What if you could move space itself?" Velthak stared at the young human. "That makes no sense. Space is not something you can pick up and move." "Actually, it is," Hyun-Soo said calmly. "Einstein proved that space and time are connected. They can be bent, stretched, and folded. Most species use this knowledge to create hyperspace tunnels, but we took a different approach. We learned to fold space around our ship," Minho added. "Instead of moving from point A to point B, we bring point B to us. Then we unfold the space and we're where we wanted to be." Velthak felt his confusion growing. If this were possible, why hasn't anyone else discovered it? "Because," Hyun-Soo said, "most species had access to hyperspace technology from the beginning. When you already have a working solution, you don't look for alternatives. Humans were cut off from the galactic community. We had to find our own way." "This is ridiculous," Velthak said. "If you could really manipulate space itself, you would be the most powerful species in the galaxy." Minho grinned. "Would you like a demonstration?" Before Velthak could answer, Minho pulled a small device from his belt. It looked like a simple tool, nothing special. "This is a basic space folder," Minho said. "Very small scale, but it works on the same principles as our ship's drive." He placed the device on the table and activated it. Suddenly, Velthak felt dizzy. The room seemed to stretch and compress at the same time. For a few seconds, he could see two versions of everything around him. 2 tables, 2 walls, 2 of each person. Then everything snapped back to normal. Velthak grabbed the edge of the table, trying to steady himself. His soldiers looked equally confused and frightened. "What did you do?" he demanded. "We folded this section of space," Minho explained. "For a few seconds, this room existed in 2 places at once. That's why you could see double images of everything." "Impossible," Velthak whispered. But he knew he had seen it with his own eyes. "Commander," Hyun-Soo said seriously, "we need you to understand something. We didn't come here to show off our technology. We came here to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "Your empire is planning to expand into the Outer Rim sectors. Our intelligence suggests you're looking for new resources and territories." Velthak's anger flared. "How could you possibly know about classified Imperial plans?" "When you can fold space," Hyun-Soo said calmly, "it becomes much easier to observe things without being detected. We've been watching the Empire's movements for some time. That's espionage." Velthak stood up quickly. "You're spying on the Empire." "We're protecting our people," Hyun-Soo replied. "Several of the systems marked for Imperial expansion contain human colonies. We can't allow our civilians to be conquered or displaced." Minho looked at his handheld device and frowned. "Commander, we need to leave soon. I'm detecting multiple large ships heading this way." Velthak touched his communicator. "Thunder's Edge report. Sir, we're detecting a massive Imperial fleet approaching our position. Admiral Kexvar's Hunter fleet, along with several other battle groups. They'll be here within the hour." Hyun-Soo and Minho exchanged glances. "We should have expected this," Hyun-Soo said. "The Empire doesn't take unknown technologies lightly." "You're under arrest," Velthak declared. "You will come with me as prisoners. Your ship will be captured and studied." "I'm afraid that's not going to happen," Hyun-Soo said sadly. "We tried to do this peacefully." Minho was already heading toward the shuttle's exit. "Commander, we really do need to go now." "You're not leaving," Velthak ordered his soldiers. "Stop them." The Imperial soldiers raised their weapons, but before they could fire, something strange happened. The 2 humans seemed to become transparent. The energy beams passed right through them without effect. "Localized space folding," Minho called out as they headed for the exit. We're temporarily existing in a slightly different dimension. Your weapons can't touch us. Wait, Velthak shouted. We can work together. The Empire could use your technology. Hyunsu paused at the exit. Commander, your Empire conquers and controls. That's not what humanity wants. We prefer cooperation to domination. Then what do you want? Velthak demanded. We want to be left alone, Hyunsu replied. We want our colonies to remain free, and we want the galaxy to know that there are alternatives to the Empire's way of doing things. The two humans exited the shuttle and walked quickly toward their own craft. Velthak and his soldiers followed, but their weapons were still useless against the space-folded humans. This isn't over, Velthak called out. No, Hyunsu agreed as he reached his shuttle. It's just beginning. The human shuttle lifted off silently and disappeared into space. Within minutes, it had vanished from all sensors. Velthak stood on the asteroid's surface, staring up at the stars. He had served the Empire faithfully for 30 years. He believed in Imperial superiority and the rightness of Imperial expansion. But today, he had met a species that challenged everything he thought he knew about technology and power. His communicator crackled. Commander, Admiral Kexvar wishes to speak with you immediately. Velthak sighed. The Admiral was known throughout the Empire as a ruthless hunter, who never gave up once he had a target. If Kexvar was coming personally, it meant the Empire considered the humans to be a serious threat. Tell the Admiral I'll brief him as soon as I return to the ship, Velthak replied. As his shuttle lifted off from the asteroid, Velthak wondered what would happen next. The humans had technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. They had been spying on the Empire's most secret plans, and they had made it clear they would not submit to Imperial authority. The Empire would not accept this challenge lightly. Kexvar would hunt the human ship across the galaxy if necessary. But Velthak had seen what the humans could do. He wasn't sure the Empire understood what it was getting into. The hunter fleet was already visible on the horizon, dozens of massive warships moving in perfect formation. Soon, the real test would begin. The Empire's finest warriors against humanity's impossible technology. Velthak just hoped they were all still alive when it was over. Admiral Kexvar stood perfectly still on the bridge of his flagship, the Predator's Claw. His cold blue eyes studied the tactical display showing the human ship's last known position. Unlike Commander Velthak, Kexvar never showed emotion. He was known throughout the Empire as a calculating hunter who caught every target. Report, he said to his intelligence officer. Sir, the human vessel disappeared from this location 47 minutes ago. Commander Velthak's debriefing confirms they have some form of advanced space manipulation technology. Impossible technology means nothing if we can predict their actions, Kexvar replied. What do we know about their destination? Unknown, sir. They could be anywhere in the galaxy by now. Kexvar walked to the communication station. Get me a secure channel to Imperial intelligence. I want everything we have on human colonies, shipping routes, and strategic assets. Within minutes, star charts filled the main display. Red dots marked known human settlements scattered across the outer rim. Most were small colonies with basic technology. Sir, the tactical officer interrupted. We're detecting energy signatures consistent with the human vessel. Distance 12 light-years in the Kepler system. How old is that reading? Less than 5 minutes, sir. They may still be there. Set course immediately, Kexvar ordered. All ships, maximum speed. We will not let them escape again. The hunter fleet jumped to hyperspace, racing toward the Kepler system. But when they arrived, the human ship was gone. Only fading energy traces remained. Sir, new contact, the sensors officer reported. The human vessel has appeared in the Ross system, 15 light-years from here. Kexvar studied the tactical display. The Ross system contained a small human mining colony. They're checking on their people, he realized. Communications. Send a message to Imperial forces in the Ross system. Tell them to be ready. But again, by the time the hunter fleet arrived, the Wanderer had vanished. Aboard the human ship, Commander Hyunsu studied the same tactical display showing Imperial fleet positions. His navigator, Yunji, worked at her station with calm efficiency. The hunter fleet is good, she said. They're tracking us faster than expected. How are our people? Hyunsu asked their communications officer, Daun. Colony Ross 3 reports no Imperial activity yet, Daun replied, but they're detecting long-range scanner sweeps. The Empire is looking for them. Dr. So Young, the ship's physicist, looked up from her console. Captain, we can't keep running forever. Each spacefold uses enormous amounts of energy. We'll need to stop for maintenance soon. Hyun-soo nodded. He had expected this chase to happen, but hoped they would have more time to prepare. Options? We could try the nebula in Sector 7, suggested Minho. The gas clouds might hide our energy signatures. The Empire knows that trick, Yoonji said. They'll flood the area with sensor probes. What about the asteroid field near Vega? Daeun asked. Lots of interference from the metal deposits. Hyun-soo considered their options. All of them had problems. The Empire had been hunting smugglers and pirates for centuries. They knew every hiding place in this part of the galaxy. Wait, Dr. So-young said suddenly. I have an idea. What if we don't hide? Everyone turned to look at her. Explain, Hyun-soo said. We've been using our space folding defensively to run away. But what if we used it offensively? Not to hurt anyone, but to confuse them. Minho grinned. You mean create multiple false targets? Exactly. We could fold space to create dozens of phantom images of our ship. Make it look like we're everywhere at once. Can we do that? Hyun-soo asked. Theoretically, yes, So-young replied. But it would be very dangerous. We'd be spreading our existence across multiple dimensions simultaneously. If something goes wrong, we could be torn apart. Hyun-soo thought about it. The Empire's hunter fleet was closing in. Soon they would have nowhere left to run, and more Imperial forces were probably on their way. Do it, he decided, but be ready to collapse the field immediately if we run into trouble. Dr. So-young began working at her console. I'll need 15 minutes to recalibrate the spacefold generators. Meanwhile, Admiral Kexvar was growing frustrated. His fleet had chased the human ship across 6 star systems, but they always arrived too late. The Wanderer seemed to know exactly where the Imperial forces were and when they were coming. Sir, his intelligence officer reported, we're receiving reports from across the sector. The human ship has been spotted in 12 different locations within the last hour. Impossible, Kexvar replied. One ship cannot be in 12 places at once. The reports are from reliable sources, sir. Imperial patrol ships, monitoring stations, even civilian traffic control. Kexvar studied the incoming reports. The human ship had appeared near a trading post, then at a fuel depot, then near 3 different planets. Each sighting lasted only minutes before the vessel disappeared again. They're toying with us, he realized, showing themselves just long enough to be detected, then moving on. Orders, sir? Kexvar was quiet for a long moment. He had never encountered an enemy like this. Usually, superior numbers and firepower were enough to win any battle. But the humans weren't fighting. They were just playing games. Deploy the fleet in a search pattern, he ordered. Wide spacing, overlapping sensor coverage. When they appear next, I want to be ready. The hunter fleet spread out across the sector, each ship monitoring a different area. Kexvar waited patiently. Somewhere out there, the human ship was planning its next move. Suddenly, alarms began sounding across the fleet. Contact! Multiple ships reported simultaneously. Human vessel detected. Kexvar looked at the tactical display in confusion. According to his sensors, the Wanderer was now in 13 different locations at the same time. Which reading is correct? He demanded. Sir, they all appear to be real contacts. Energy signatures match, hull configuration matches, but they're all the same ship. Lock weapons on all targets, Kexvar ordered. Fire when ready. The hunter fleet opened fire on all 13 targets. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space, but every shot passed harmlessly through the phantom images. No hits registered, sir. All targets remain intact. How is this possible? Kexvar asked. Before anyone could answer, new alarms sounded. The human ship was now appearing in 26 different locations. Then 39, then 52. Sir, the entire sector is filling up with copies of the human ship, the tactical officer reported. I count over 100 contacts now. Kexvar stared at the display. Red dots representing the human vessel covered the entire star chart. Some were moving, others were stationary. A few appeared to be inside his own ships. This is impossible, he whispered. Aboard the Wanderer, the crew was working frantically to maintain the spacefold illusions. Dr. So-young's hands moved rapidly across her controls as she managed the multiple dimensional phases. How many can you maintain? Hyun-soo asked. Right now about 150, she replied through gritted teeth. But it's getting harder to keep them stable. Captain, Dawn interrupted. I'm picking up Imperial communications. They're calling for reinforcements, massive reinforcements. Hyun-soo listened as Da-eun played the intercepted messages. The Empire was mobilizing fleets from across the galaxy. They were treating humanity as a major threat, not just a curiosity. They're scared, Yoonji observed. They don't understand our technology, so they're responding with overwhelming force. How long until the reinforcements arrive? Hyun-soo asked. First units will be here within 6 hours. The main battle fleet will arrive within 12 hours. Minho looked up from his engineering station. Captain, we can't maintain this illusion much longer. The power drain is enormous. Hyun-soo made a decision. Collapse the field. Take us to Rally Point Alpha. Dr. So-young began shutting down the multiple space folds. One by one, the phantom ships disappeared from sensors across the sector. Finally, only the real Wanderer remained. But it vanished too, folding space around itself and jumping to a predetermined location deep in human territory. Admiral, Kexavar watched as all the targets disappeared from his screens. Status. Report, he ordered. All contacts lost, sir. The sector appears clear. Damage assessment? No damage to any Imperial vessels, sir. We never actually engaged the real target. Kexavar felt something he rarely experienced. Uncertainty. In 30 years of military service, he had never faced an enemy like this. The humans could appear anywhere, anytime, in any number. They could make his entire fleet fire uselessly at shadows. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. High Command is requesting a full report. They want to know why we haven't captured or destroyed the human vessel. Kexavar looked at the empty tactical display. How could he explain that he was chasing an enemy who could be in 100 places at once? An enemy who could step outside the normal laws of physics whenever they chose? Tell High Command, he said finally, that we are dealing with a completely new type of threat. Request all available intelligence on human technology and capabilities. Yes, sir. As his staff began preparing reports, Kexavar continued staring at the tactical display. Somewhere out there, the human ship was planning its next move, and he still had no idea how to catch something that could exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. The hunt was far from over. The Imperial invasion fleet was massive. Over 300 warships hung in space at the edge of the Tau Ceti system, home to humanity's largest colony. Admiral Zarthek, commander of the invasion force, studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Intelligence reports indicate this system contains over 2 million human civilians, his aide reported. Industrial facilities, shipyards, and what appears to be a military academy. Perfect, Zarthek replied. When we capture this system, humanity will have no choice but to surrender their impossible technology. The Admiral was confident in his plan. The human ship Wanderer had embarrassed the Hunter fleet with its tricks and illusions. But tricks meant nothing against overwhelming firepower. 300 Imperial warships could destroy any defense the primitive humans might have. Sir, we're detecting energy signatures consistent with human spacefold technology, the sensors officer reported. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. How many? Zarthek asked. Difficult to determine, sir. The readings are confusing. It could be 1 ship or 100. Zarthek smiled coldly. It doesn't matter. Even if they have 100 ships, we have 300. Begin the attack. The Imperial fleet moved forward, weapons charging. As they approached the inner system, more contacts appeared on their sensors. But these weren't the phantom images they had encountered before. These were solid real ships. Sir, the tactical officer said with surprise, I'm reading actual human vessels, not illusions. Real ships with real weapons. Admiral Jin Woo stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Defiance, watching the Imperial fleet approach. He was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes. Around him, younger officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. Report, he ordered his tactical officer, Captain Nari. Imperial fleet consists of 317 vessels, sir. Mixed cruisers and battleships, all equipped with standard Empire weapons. Our status? 43 vessels ready for combat, sir. All equipped with spacefold drives and phase weapons. Jinwoo nodded. The numbers seemed impossible. 43 human ships against over 300 Imperial vessels. But numbers weren't everything. Signal the Wanderer, he ordered. Tell Commander Hyun-soo it's time to begin. The human fleet moved to meet the Imperial forces. But as they advanced, something strange happened. The human ships began to flicker in and out of existence. One moment they were solid objects on sensors, the next they seemed to be ghosts. What are they doing? Admiral Zarthek demanded. Unknown, sir. The human ships appear to be phasing in and out of normal space. Lock weapons and fire. The Imperial fleet opened fire, sending thousands of energy beams and missiles toward the human ships. But most of the shots passed harmlessly through empty space. The human vessels seemed to exist just outside the normal dimension, making them nearly impossible to hit. When the human ships fired back, their weapons behaved just as strangely. Energy beams appeared from nowhere, striking Imperial vessels before disappearing again. The weapons seemed to ignore shields and armor, hitting directly at the ship's internal systems. Damage report, Zarthek shouted as his flagship shook from multiple hits. Shield generators offline, sir. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We're losing power to weapon systems. All around the Imperial fleet, similar reports came in. The human weapons were unlike anything they had faced before. Instead of overwhelming the ship's defenses, they simply bypassed them entirely. On the bridge of the Defiance, Chief Engineer Wu Jin monitored the battle's progress. Phase weapons working perfectly, Admiral. We're hitting their ships from folded space dimensions they can't even detect. Casualties? Jinwu asked. Minimal, sir. The Imperial weapons can't target us while we're phase shifted. Jinwu watched the tactical display as Imperial ships began to fall back. They were retreating, but not quickly enough. Signal all ships, he ordered. Demonstration Protocol 7. Captain Nari looked surprised. Sir, are you sure? That's never been tested in actual combat. Today seems like a good day to try new things, Jinwu replied calmly. Across the human fleet, spacefold generators began working in coordinated patterns. Instead of folding space around individual ships, they began folding space around entire sections of the Imperial fleet. Admiral Zarthek watched in horror as 20 of his ships simply disappeared. One moment they were fighting desperately, the next they were gone completely. Where did they go? He demanded. Unknown, sir. They've vanished from all sensors. The missing Imperial ships reappeared 15 minutes later, but they were no longer in the battle zone. They found themselves floating peacefully in empty space 50 light-years away from the fight. Their weapons were undamaged, their crews unharmed, but they were completely out of the battle. This is impossible, Zarthek whispered. They moved our ships without destroying them. How? More Imperial vessels began to disappear. Each time they reappeared far from the battle, safely relocated but unable to return in time to help. The human fleet was removing their enemies from the fight without actually killing them. Sir, the communications officer reported. High Command is requesting a status report. Tell them, Zarthek said grimly, that we have encountered something completely beyond our understanding. Aboard the Wanderer, Commander Hyun-Soo coordinated the human fleet's movements. His crew worked smoothly together, using their spacefold technology with precision and skill. Da-Yun, are you monitoring Imperial communications? Yes, sir. They're calling for more reinforcements. Admiral Kexvar is bringing his hunter fleet, plus battle groups from 3 other sectors. How long? 6 hours for the first reinforcements. 12 hours for the main force. Hyun-Soo considered their options. They had surprised the Imperial invasion fleet, but more enemies were coming. Many more. Yunji plot a course for the edge of the system. We need to prepare for the next phase. Yes, sir. Minho looked up from his engineering station. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. Put it through. A new voice filled the bridge, crisp and authoritative. It was High Counselor Ji Hai, humanity's senior diplomatic representative. Commander Hyun-Soo, the Galactic Council, has been monitoring this battle. Several species are demanding an explanation for humanity's impossible technology. What's our status with the Council? Hyun-Soo asked. Complicated. Some species are interested in peaceful contact. Others are joining with the Empire, claiming we represent a threat to galactic stability. Dr. So-Young looked up from her console. Captain, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout this sector. Not just Imperial ships. I'm seeing vessels from at least 6 different species. They're all coming here? Hyunji asked. Looks that way. The Empire has convinced other species that humanity must be stopped. Hyun-Soo felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What had started as a simple reconnaissance mission was becoming a war that could involve the entire galaxy. Da-Yun, send a message to Admiral Jinwu. Tell him to prepare the fleet for withdrawal. We can't fight the entire galaxy. Sir, Minho interrupted. Incoming transmission from the Imperial flagship. Put it through. Admiral Zarthek's voice filled the bridge. He sounded tired and defeated. Human vessels, this is Admiral Zarthek. I request permission to speak with your commanding officer. Hyunsu activated the communication system. This is Commander Hyunsu. What do you want, Admiral? I want to understand. My ships have weapons that can destroy planets. My fleet has conquered dozens of star systems, but you defeated us without killing a single person. How is that possible? We didn't want to kill anyone, Hyunsu replied. We just wanted you to leave our people alone. But your technology, it changes everything. Spacefold drives, phase weapons, dimensional manipulation. These capabilities could revolutionize the galaxy. Or they could be used to make the strong even stronger while the weak remain weak, Hyunsu said. That's not what humanity wants. There was a long pause before Zarthek replied. What do you want? Hyunsu looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They had come so far from that first encounter with Commander Veltak. Now the fate of their entire species hung in the balance. We want the same thing every species wants, he said finally. We want to be free. We want to explore the galaxy and learn from other civilizations. We want to share our knowledge and benefit from yours. The Empire will never accept that, Zarthek replied. Our way is conquest and control. We cannot allow a species with your capabilities to remain independent. Then we have a problem, Hyunsu said sadly, because we will never surrender our freedom. As if to emphasize his point, alarms began sounding across both fleets. New contacts were appearing at the edge of the system. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different species all converging on humanity's largest colony. The real battle was about to begin. The heart of the Galactic Empire was a system called Imperius Prime, home to the ancient capital world and the massive space stations that controlled galactic trade. Emperor Zethkol had ruled from here for over 2 centuries, his power absolute throughout the known galaxy. Today the Emperor sat in his throne room, watching reports from across the galaxy. The human problem had grown far beyond what anyone expected. What started as one mysterious ship had become a threat to the Empire's very existence. Your Majesty, his aide reported, representatives from 47 species have arrived for the emergency council session. They are all demanding answers about human capabilities. And our fleet positions? The Emperor asked. Admiral Kexvar is leading our most powerful battle group toward human space. 800 ships, including our newest dreadnoughts. The other species have contributed an additional 600 vessels. The Emperor nodded slowly. 1,400 warships should be enough to end the human threat permanently. But he had learned to be cautious. The humans had surprised everyone with their impossible technology. What word from our intelligence networks? Disturbing news, Your Majesty. The humans appear to be sharing their spacefold technology with some of the Outer Rim species. 3 independent worlds have reported acquiring faster-than-light travel capabilities that don't rely on Imperial hyperspace lanes. This was the Emperor's greatest fear. For millennia, the Empire had maintained control by monopolizing advanced technology. Species that wanted to travel between stars had to use Imperial hyperspace routes and pay Imperial taxes, but human technology could change all of that. Summon the Council, he ordered. It's time to end this threat permanently. Meanwhile, in deep space between the stars, Commander Hyunsu stood in the conference room of humanity's newest ship, the Harmony. This vessel was different from the Wanderer. It was larger, designed specifically for diplomatic missions rather than reconnaissance. Around the table sat representatives from dozens of species. Some were old friends of humanity. Others were neutral parties interested in learning about human technology. A few were even defectors from the Empire itself. High Counselor Jihai led the discussion. She was an older woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes, skilled in the complex art of galactic diplomacy. The situation is clear, she said to the assembled delegates. The Empire and its allies are mobilizing their largest fleet in history. They intend to destroy humanity and claim our technology for themselves. What alternative do we have? Asked Ambassador Krelthan of the Centauri Alliance. The Empire has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They have the largest fleets, the most advanced weapons. They have the old technology, corrected Master Engineer Tae-hyun, the elderly human who had led the development of spacefold drives. Size and firepower mean nothing if you can't hit your target. Dr. So-young activated a holographic display showing the human fleet. We now have over 200 ships equipped with spacefold capabilities. But more importantly, we have something the Empire doesn't. Which is? Asked another alien representative. Cooperation, Jihai replied. The Empire rules through fear and control. We succeed through partnership and shared knowledge. Commander Hyun-soo stepped forward. We've prepared a demonstration for the assembled fleets. Not a battle, but a showing of what cooperative technology can achieve. 3 days later, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled in the neutral zone between Empire space and the Outer Rim. Admiral Kexvar commanded the Imperial forces from his flagship, the Absolute Authority. Around him, hundreds of ships from dozens of species waited for the order to attack. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "human vessels are appearing throughout the sector." Kexvar studied the display. Unlike previous encounters, the human ships weren't trying to hide or create illusions. They appeared openly, taking positions around the massive Imperial fleet. "How many?" he asked. 237 confirmed contacts, sir. All broadcasting identification signals and diplomatic codes. "They're not here to fight," Admiral Zarthek observed. He had requested to join this final battle, hoping to understand the humans better. "They're here to demonstrate." "Demonstrate what?" Kexvar asked. His answer came from an unexpected source. Ships began appearing throughout the sector that weren't human at all. Vessels from the Centauri Alliance, the Free Traders Coalition, and dozens of independent worlds. All of them moving with the impossible grace of spacefold technology. "Sir, we're detecting over 400 additional vessels. They're all equipped with human-style drives." Kexvar realized what he was seeing. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology for themselves. They had shared it, given it away freely to anyone willing to cooperate peacefully. "Open a channel to all ships," came a broadcast from the human flagship Harmony. "This is High Counselor Ji Hai of the Human Federation. We invite all representatives to witness a demonstration of cooperative technology." What happened next changed everything. The human and allied ships began to work together in perfect coordination. Instead of individual vessels using spacefold drives, hundreds of ships began folding space as a group. The effect was spectacular and terrifying. Entire sections of space began to bend and twist. Stars seemed to move closer together, then spread apart. The Imperial fleet found itself surrounded by folded space that made normal navigation impossible. "Sir, our navigation systems are completely confused," the Imperial helmsman reported. "Space itself doesn't seem to be working normally." But the humans weren't finished. As the assembled fleets watched, they began to demonstrate applications of spacefold technology that no one had imagined. They created stable wormholes connecting distant parts of the galaxy. They showed how ships could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them impossible to attack. They even demonstrated the ability to accelerate time around specific objects, allowing rapid construction of space stations and habitats. "This isn't just a better way to travel," Admiral Zarthek whispered. "This is a completely new understanding of reality itself." Emperor Zethkol watched the demonstration from his throne room, his ancient face showing confusion and fear. In 200 years of rule, he had never seen anything that challenged imperial power so completely. "Your Majesty," his aide reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 3 imperial sectors. They want to negotiate peaceful transitions to the new technology. And our allies? 40% of the Allied fleet has requested permission to begin negotiations with the humans. They want access to spacefold technology for their own people." The Emperor closed his eyes. The Empire was fracturing. Species that had been loyal for centuries were abandoning imperial control in favor of human cooperation. "Your orders, Your Majesty?" The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up slowly from his throne. "Arrange a meeting with the human representatives," he said finally. "It appears the galaxy has changed whether we like it or not." 6 months later, Commander Hyun-soo stood on the observation deck of the Harmony, watching the construction of humanity's first deep space embassy. Around him, ships from dozens of species worked together using shared spacefold technology. The galaxy had indeed changed. The Empire still existed, but it was no longer the absolute ruler of galactic civilization. Some imperial sectors had joined the new cooperative alliance. Others remained independent, maintaining the old ways of control and conquest. "Captain," Yoon-ji said, joining him at the observation window, "we're receiving reports from the Outer Rim. 5 new species have requested contact with the Federation. They want to learn about our technology." "Any word from Admiral Kexvar?" "He's establishing the new Imperial Federation Border Commission. Apparently he's become quite an advocate for peaceful coexistence." Hyun-soo smiled. The Imperial Admiral who had once hunted them across the galaxy now worked to ensure that both civilizations could exist peacefully. And the technology sharing program, growing every day. Master Engineer Taehyun says we now have over 3,000 ships equipped with spacefold drives. Not just human ships, but vessels from 47 different species. Dr. So-young approached from across the deck. Captain, we're ready to begin the next phase of the deep space exploration project. Would you like to review the mission parameters? What's the destination? The Magellanic Clouds. We've detected energy signatures that suggest other civilizations with advanced technology, civilizations that develop separately from both the Empire and the Federation. Hyun-soo looked out at the stars, thinking about all the possibilities that lay ahead. Humanity had started this journey as a small isolated species trying to find their place in the galaxy. Now they were part of something much larger, a cooperative civilization that spanned thousands of star systems. Send a message to Earth Command, he said finally. Tell them the Harmony is ready for departure. It's time to see what else is out there. As the ship prepared for its journey to distant galaxies, Hyun-soo reflected on how far they had come. The Empire had spotted an object faster than they could track. That object had been humanity's first step toward changing the entire galaxy. Now, with spacefold technology spreading to more species every day, the galaxy was becoming something new. Not an empire built on conquest and control, but a federation built on